Why does life feel like a constant struggle? From chasing success to battling worries, it often seems like peace is always out of reach. Schopenhauer believed this wasn't just coincidence, it is the very structure of existence. At the heart of every human being lies what he called the will, an endless force pushing us to want, to desire, to strive. And with every desire comes restlessness, frustration, and pain. Even when we get what we want, the satisfaction fades quickly. According to him, life is not built for happiness, it is built for suffering. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that suffering is not just an occasional misfortune in life, but the very foundation of existence itself. At the core of his philosophy is the concept of the will, a blind, irrational force that drives all living beings. Unlike reason, which is thoughtful and deliberate, the will is restless and endless. It constantly pushes us to survive, to compete, to pursue goals, to seek pleasure, and to avoid pain. Because of this, life naturally becomes a struggle. Hunger forces us to seek food, ambition drives us to compete, desire pushes us to chase love or wealth, and fear compels us to avoid danger. Each of these states creates tension, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. In Schopenhauer's view, every desire is a kind of suffering because it represents a lack. The moment we want something, we are restless until we achieve it. But the irony is that even when a desire is fulfilled, satisfaction never lasts. Relief is temporary, and soon a new craving takes its place. This endless cycle traps us between two states, pain when our desires are unfulfilled, and boredom when they are satisfied. Schopenhauer pointed out that this cycle explains much of human unhappiness. We think achieving wealth, love, or recognition will bring lasting joy, yet once we get them, the excitement fades, and we feel empty again. To him, this constant dissatisfaction was proof that suffering is not accidental, it is built into the very fabric of life. In simple terms, Schopenhauer's first principle is clear: to exist is to suffer, because to exist is to desire. The will ensures we are never at rest, always chasing, always struggling. This, he argued, is why human life can never be completely free from suffering. Schopenhauer believed that desire is the root of human suffering. To desire something means to recognize that we do not yet have it. That absence, that gap between what we want and what we currently possess, creates inner tension. In his words, every desire is a form of pain, because it highlights a lack within us. Think about hunger. The body craves food, and until we eat, we feel restless and uncomfortable. The same principle applies to higher desires: ambition, wealth, love, recognition. As long as the goal is unfulfilled, we live in a state of unease. The bigger the desire, the greater the anxiety it produces. Schopenhauer argued that this makes desire a trap. Our minds are wired to always want something more. Even when we achieve one goal, another quickly takes its place. A person may work hard to buy a car, but once they have it, they start dreaming of a bigger house, a better job, or higher social status. The cycle never ends. This endless chain of desire creates a life dominated by dissatisfaction. Instead of resting in the present, we constantly live in the future, waiting for happiness to arrive someday. Yet that day never truly comes, because fulfillment is always temporary. As soon as one craving is satisfied, another emerges. Modern psychology supports this idea. Studies show that people adapt quickly to new achievements or possessions, a process known as the hedonic treadmill. What excites us today soon becomes ordinary, and then we crave more. Social media and consumer culture only magnify this cycle by constantly reminding us of what we lack compared to others. In Schopenhauer's view, to desire is to suffer. And since humans are beings of endless desire, suffering is unavoidable. For Schopenhauer, one of life's most painful truths is that satisfaction never lasts. Every time we fulfill a desire, we experience a brief moment of relief, but almost immediately, a new craving arises to take its place. This makes lasting happiness impossible. Imagine longing for a promotion at work. Months of effort and stress finally pay off, and for a few days or weeks, you feel proud and accomplished. But soon, the glow fades. New responsibilities, fresh ambitions, and comparisons with others bring back the sense of restlessness. What once felt like success becomes ordinary, and the cycle begins again. Schopenhauer believed this is the nature of desire itself. It cannot be permanently satisfied, because the will, the force driving us, is endless. Each time we silence one longing, another awakens. In this way, life becomes a pendulum, swinging back and forth between pain when we lack what we want and boredom when we have it and no longer feel excited. Even pleasures, he argued, carry the seed of dissatisfaction. Eating a delicious meal relieves hunger, but only until the next pang returns. Buying new clothes excites us briefly, but soon they feel ordinary. Falling in love feels intoxicating, but over time, the initial thrill fades into routine or disappointment. Modern science echoes this view. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation, the tendency for people to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness after positive or negative events. No matter how great the achievement, the mind soon normalizes it and begins searching for more. This truth can feel bleak, but Schopenhauer saw it as reality. Happiness is not a permanent state but a fleeting moment. And the sooner we accept its temporary nature, the more honestly we can live. Schopenhauer described ordinary human existence as a constant swing between pain and boredom. Pain comes from the endless stream of unfulfilled desires, the goals we chase, the struggles we endure, the fears we carry. But when those desires are temporarily satisfied, instead of finding lasting peace, we often fall into boredom. For him, boredom was not trivial. It was proof that life offers no permanent fulfillment. If existence were inherently joyful, having our needs met should bring contentment. Instead, the absence of striving leaves us restless and empty. People then invent distractions, entertainments, and new ambitions to escape the unbearable weight of boredom. This cycle defines the human condition. The poor suffer from lack, struggling for survival, while the wealthy often suffer from ennui, searching for meaning in the midst of abundance. Both extremes reveal the same truth: satisfaction is elusive, and life does not naturally lead to happiness. Schopenhauer's insight is strikingly relevant today. Modern people, despite unprecedented comfort, often feel discontented. Technology, endless entertainment, and consumer goods provide temporary stimulation, yet the underlying boredom remains. Social media scrolling, binge watching, or chasing trends are attempts to escape it, but they rarely succeed. Thus, ordinary life oscillates. When we desire, we feel pain. When desire pauses, we feel boredom. This pendulum ensures that true peace is never stable. Even pleasure, when prolonged, dulls into monotony, and soon we crave something new. To Schopenhauer, this showed that existence itself is flawed at its core. The cycle cannot be broken through achievement or wealth. It is woven into what it means to live. Human beings are restless by nature, destined to chase, to tire, and to repeat. Schopenhauer's philosophy may have been written in the 19th century, but its relevance in the modern world is undeniable. If he believed life was suffering in his time, the conditions of today amplify that suffering even further. The very systems that promise happiness, consumerism, social media, and hustle culture, often trap us in deeper dissatisfaction. Consumer culture teaches us that happiness comes from buying more, a bigger house, the latest phone, fashionable clothes, or luxury experiences. But, as Schopenhauer would predict, each purchase brings only temporary pleasure before the craving returns. The market thrives on our dissatisfaction, keeping us in a cycle of desire. Social media multiplies this effect. Constant exposure to other people's curated lives creates endless comparison. Even if we achieve something we once dreamed of, it quickly feels small when measured against someone else's highlight reel. Instead of contentment, we feel envy, inadequacy, or the urge to outdo others. This aligns perfectly with Schopenhauer's idea that satisfaction is fleeting, and desire always regenerates. Hustle culture adds another layer. We are told that self-worth comes from productivity and achievement. Rest becomes guilt, and success feels insufficient because there is always another milestone ahead. This mirrors the restless nature of the will that Schopenhauer described, always pushing, never satisfied. Ironically, modern abundance does not solve suffering, it intensifies it. While past generations struggled mainly with survival, today many struggle with meaning. Even with comfort, entertainment, and opportunities, we feel emptier than ever. In Schopenhauer's terms, the modern world has perfected the machinery of desire. It keeps us chasing endlessly, ensuring that satisfaction slips through our fingers. The very progress that promised happiness often deepens the cycle of pain and boredom he described centuries ago. While Schopenhauer painted a bleak picture of existence, he did not leave us without hope. He believed that although suffering is the foundation of life, there are ways to soften its grip. These are not permanent escapes, but moments of relief and clarity that allow us to rise above the tyranny of desire. The first path is awareness. By recognizing the endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction, we can stop expecting life to deliver permanent happiness. This shift in perspective reduces disappointment, because we no longer chase illusions of eternal joy. Instead, we learn to accept life's limitations with honesty. The second path is art and aesthetic experience. For Schopenhauer, art offers a temporary liberation from the will. When we are absorbed in music, literature, or visual beauty, we momentarily step outside the cycle of desire. In those moments, we are no longer striving, we are simply experiencing. Music, in particular, was for him the purest form of escape, reflecting life's struggles without binding us to them. The third path is detachment or renunciation. Inspired by Eastern philosophies, Schopenhauer argued that by loosening our attachment to desires, through compassion, meditation, or simple living, we can weaken the will's hold. This does not mean rejecting life entirely, but living with less dependence on possessions, status, or constant stimulation. In modern terms, these escapes align with mindfulness, creativity, and minimalism. Practices like meditation, gratitude, and artistic expression help us step back from the restless chase. Schopenhauer's message is not that life can be made perfectly happy, but that we can carve out spaces of peace within it. Through awareness, art, and detachment, we gain the freedom to live more meaningfully, even in a world built on suffering. Schopenhauer's vision of life is unsettling but deeply honest. To live is to suffer, because desire never ends. Our daily existence swings between pain and boredom, intensified today by consumerism, hustle culture, and constant comparison. Yet within this bleak cycle lies a quiet path to relief. Through awareness, we stop expecting perfect happiness. Through art, we step outside the will and glimpse beauty without striving. Through detachment, we loosen desire's grip and discover moments of peace. Life may not be built for lasting joy, but it can still hold meaning when we choose how to see and live it.